Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're tired of overwatering your houseplants and want a few that can handle the full sun without needing constant attention, you've come to the right place. Today, we're talking about 10 houseplants that can thrive in full sun and don't need you running out every other day to water them. Trust me, I get it. Life gets busy, and sometimes your plants need to be a little more self-sufficient. These plants are perfect for those of us who live in warmer climates, have tons of sunlight coming in, or maybe just want a little more time for ourselves without worrying about wilting leaves. Alright, first up is Aloe Vera. This one's a fan favorite, and it's not just for healing burns. This tough little plant can handle the full sun without breaking a sweat. It thrives on minimal care, which is perfect if you're looking for something that doesn't need constant attention. Check out these thick, fleshy leaves. This is how aloe vera stores water. So even though it's getting blasted by full sun, it doesn't need to be watered often. The plant can actually go weeks without water. Just be careful not to overdo it, or you might drown it. Aloe vera is one of those plants that just kind of sits there, doing its thing. No constant watering, no fussing over it. And with all that sunlight, it grows super healthy. In fact, if you forget to water it now and then, it's not the end of the world. Just don't let it sit in a soggy pot. If you're wondering how often to water it, you're better off letting the soil dry out completely before giving it a drink. Honestly, you could probably go 2-3 weeks without watering this thing, and it'd still be thriving. Aloe vera, the ultimate sun-loving, low-maintenance plant. Next up, we've got the spider plant. This one's a personal favorite, and it's not just because it's low maintenance. It actually loves being in the sun, just like aloe vera, and it doesn't mind going a while without water. Look at these long, green leaves. The spider plant's a super hardy one. It can handle bright sunlight, and even though it'll do its best in a little bit of shade, it can easily tolerate full sun for a while. The key with this one is letting the soil dry out between waterings. If you keep it too wet, the roots can rot, and we don't want that. Like most plants, the spider plant's pretty forgiving when it comes to watering. In full sun, you won't need to water it as often. Just keep an eye on the leaves. If they start to droop a bit, that's your cue it's time for a drink. But honestly, you can go about a week or two without worrying about it. Perfect for the forgetful plant parent. When you do water it, just make sure you're not oversaturating it. A quick drink every week or so in full sun should do the trick. That's the beauty of spider plants. They do well with minimal effort and don't require constant TLC to stay healthy. Alright, let's talk about the Chinese money plant, also known as the Pilea peperomioides. This one's a little quirky but super low maintenance. If you've got a bright sunny spot in your house, this plant will love it and thrive without needing a ton of water. Check out these cool round leaves. They're one of the things that make the Chinese money plant so unique. And here's the best part. It's not picky when it comes to sunlight. It can handle full sun for most of the day and doesn't get all fussy if you forget to water it for a while. One thing you want to keep in mind with this plant, though, is that it prefers its soil to dry out completely before you water it again. In full sun, it can go about a week or two without a drink. So, if you're busy or just not great at remembering to water, the Chinese money plant's got you covered. See how dry the soil is here? That's a good sign. This plant actually does best when it has a bit of a dry spell in between waterings. If you keep it too moist, it can get a little unhappy, so check the soil. If it's dry to the touch, it's time to water. But if it's still moist, just leave it alone. You don't need to drown this plant. Just a little bit of water once a week or so will keep it happy. And with that full sun, it'll just keep growing those beautiful shiny leaves. So if you're looking for something that's low maintenance and a little fun to look at, the Chinese money plant's a solid choice. Next on our list is the Ponytail Palm. This one is a bit of a showstopper, right? It's got this cool, tropical vibe, but don't let its looks fool you. It's super easy to care for, especially when it comes to sunlight and watering. So check this out. The reason this plant can go without water for a while is all thanks to that bulbous base. It stores water in there like a little reservoir, so it's actually really drought tolerant. In fact, you can leave it out in full sun for most of the day, and it'll be totally happy without needing to be watered every few days. See how dry the soil is here? That's how you want it to be, dry to the touch. If you water it too often, you'll risk overwatering and root rot. The Ponytail Palm is pretty low maintenance, so don't stress about it too much. Just make sure the soil has completely dried out before giving it a drink. And when you do water it, don't go crazy, just enough to keep it happy. I'll show you here. I'm just giving it a quick splash, nothing too fancy. This plant really doesn't need much at all to stay looking good. Once every 2 to 3 weeks is usually enough, especially if it's in direct sunlight. More sun, less water, just the way it likes it. So, if you want a low-maintenance plant that'll add a little flair to your space, the Ponytail Palm's a great option. Stick it in a sunny spot, water it sparingly, and it'll keep growing that beautiful, bushy tail of leaves. It's like the cactus of the tropical plant world, super chill and super easy to take care of. Alright, next up is the Monstera Deliciosa. Yeah, the one with those big, holy leaves you've probably seen all over Instagram. This plant's a total standout, and the best part? It's way easier to care for than it looks, especially when it comes to sunlight and watering. Take a look at this beauty. Monstera Deliciosa actually loves bright, indirect light, but if you've got it in a spot that gets full sun, especially if it's a few hours a day, it can handle it just fine. The key with this plant is to not go overboard with watering. Like with most of the plants we've talked about today, the Monstera is all about letting that soil dry out between waterings. It's got pretty big leaves, which means it can handle a little bit of sun, but it doesn't want to be constantly soggy. In full sun, it'll probably go about a week or so without needing any water. Here's the trick. When you water, don't drown it. Just enough to moisten the soil, a bit is all you need. Overwatering's the quickest way to make a Monstera unhappy. So, always check the soil first. If it's dry a few inches down, then it's time for a drink. So, if you're after a stunning, easy-going plant that doesn't need constant attention, the Monstera Deliciosa is a winner. Let it bask in some full sun, water it sparingly, and watch it grow those iconic split leaves. It's low maintenance and looks amazing in any space. Alright, plant number 6, Dieffenbachia, or what some people call dumb cane. Don't let the nickname fool you though, because this plant is smart when it comes to handling sunlight and staying low maintenance. Look at these beautiful big leaves. This plant loves bright light, and believe it or not, can handle full sun without getting crispy. Now, it doesn't want to be sitting in direct sunlight all day long, but it can definitely take a few hours of sun each day and still look awesome. The big thing with Dieffenbachia is not overwatering it. It's got those thick leaves, but they don't want to sit in wet soil all the time. You've got to let the soil dry out between waterings. In full sun, it actually goes a bit longer without needing a drink, probably about a week or so. When it is time to water, you don't need to go overboard. Just a little splash to moisten the soil is all it needs. Dieffenbachia doesn't like being constantly soggy. So check the soil first. If it's dry an inch or so down, it's time for a quick drink, and that's it. So if you're looking for a low-maintenance plant that still makes a statement, Dieffenbachia is a great choice. Put it in a sunny spot, let it dry out between waterings, and you'll have a beautiful, easy-care plant for your space. Next up, we've got the snake plant, also known as Sansevieria. This one's a classic, and for good reason. Not only does it handle full sun like a champ, but it's also super easy to care for, which is always a win. These tall, sword-like leaves make the snake plant stand out, and it's built to last. It can handle full sun without any trouble. The best part? It can also go weeks without needing water, so you don't have to worry about constantly checking on it. The key with this plant is that it's super drought tolerant. The snake plant stores water in its thick leaves and roots, so even if you forget to water it for a little while, it'll be just fine. In full sun, you're probably only going to need to water it every 2 to 3 weeks. Just make sure the soil's dry before you do. If you're looking for a plant that's as tough as it is beautiful, the snake plant is it. Stick it in a sunny spot, forget about it for a while, and just water it when the soil's completely dry. It's basically the set it and forget it plant of the houseplant world. Alright, next we've got the Heartleaf Philodendron. This one's another super easy plant to care for. With those heart-shaped leaves, it's got a really charming look, and it doesn't mind a little sun. Honestly, if you're just getting into houseplants, this is a great one to start with. These leaves are pretty low maintenance, and the plant itself is super adaptable. While it does prefer bright, indirect light, it can actually handle some direct sunlight without a problem, especially in short bursts. And it won't get all cranky if you forget to water it for a while. With this plant, the key is letting the soil dry out between waterings. Just poke your finger in the soil to see if it's dry. If it is, it's time to water. In full sun, you're probably going to go about a week to 10 days before you need to water it again. Don't drown it, though. Heartleaf Philodendron likes a little break in between drinks. So, if you want a plant that'll thrive in full sun without you constantly checking on it, the Heartleaf Philodendron is a solid choice. Put it in a bright spot, water it when the soil's dry, and just let it do its thing. Easy, beautiful, and super low maintenance. Alright folks, if you're looking for a plant with a little more drama, meet the Fiddle Leaf Fig. It's one of the most popular houseplants out there, and for good reason. With those huge, glossy leaves, it really makes a statement in any room. But don't let its size fool you. It's pretty easy to care for, especially in the sun. The Fiddle Leaf Fig loves the sun, and it'll thrive in a spot that gets a good amount of light. Honestly, it can handle full sun for hours. But you want to make sure it's not too harsh, especially in the afternoon. Give it some bright, indirect light, and it'll still be happy. Now, the thing with the Fiddle Leaf Fig is, it doesn't want to be babied with constant watering. In full sun, it'll actually go quite a while without needing a drink. Just let the soil dry out completely before watering again. A good rule of thumb is about a week to 10 days between waterings. Just check the soil to be sure. So, if you've got a sunny spot and you're looking to add some height and style to your space, the Fiddle Leaf Fig is a great choice. It'll need a little more sun and a little less water, but as long as you let the soil dry out between waterings, it'll keep those big, beautiful leaves coming. It's definitely worth the little bit of extra care. Last on our list is the Ledebouria Socialis, also known as the silver squill. This little guy might not be as famous as some of the others, but it's one of the toughest plants when it comes to full sun and low maintenance care. Check out these leaves. They've got this cool silver pattern that really pops in the sunlight. The Ledebouria Socialis is a great option for a sunny windowsill. It loves the sun and actually does better when it gets plenty of light. And the best part? You don't have to water it all the time. Like a lot of tough plants, this one doesn't like sitting in wet soil. It's got a pretty good tolerance for drought, so just let the soil dry out completely before you water it again. In full sun, you're probably looking at watering once every 2 weeks, maybe even longer if you forget about it. Thanks for watching. If you found these low-maintenance plants helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more plant care tips. Drop a comment below with your favorite full sun plant or any questions you have. Happy planting, and we'll see you in the next video.